It's 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday in January 2026. You're sitting on the edge of a bed that isn't yours yet. It's a short lease, a thin mattress, a phone with a cracked corner, and you're staring at a bank app that finally tells the truth. Not almost zero. Not waiting on a deposit. Zero. There is no inheritance coming. No uncle with a business to hand you. No viral product. No secret crypto wallet from 2021 that suddenly wakes up. If every version of you had to start over tomorrow, same brain, same body, same city, same 2026 prices, this is the plan I would follow, not the pretty plan. The one that survives contact with rent, shame, and a world designed to charge you more for being broke. I wouldn't try to get rich this year. I would try to become unbreakable first, because wealth built on panic always returns to zero. Wealth built on a system can be rebuilt even when life deletes the number. So erase the fantasy. No mansion montage. No, I made 6 figures in 30 days. Just you. An empty account. And a sequence of decisions so quiet that nobody notices you're doing them until one day nobody can catch you. Day 1 is not for investing. Day 1 is for triage. If I were at zero, I would open a notes app and write 3 lines before I opened TikTok. Before I opened a how to get rich video. Before I let anyone's lifestyle rent space in my head. 1. What leaves my account automatically? 2. What can end in 7 days without ending my life? 3. What is the smallest income that arrives in the next 14 days? Most people reverse this order. They chase income fantasies while the old life keeps draining them. At zero, every forgotten subscription is a hand in your pocket. Every overdraft fee is a tax on confusion. Every I'll figure it out later is how later becomes never. So I would counsel with violence, polite violence. The free trials that became $14.99. The gym I stopped attending in October. The dual streaming services that played to an empty room. The storage unit holding a life I already outgrew. Then I would call the bank not to beg for dignity, but to remove the weapons the system uses against empty accounts. Overdraft protection that isn't protection. Paper statements. ATM fees that turn $20 into $23.50. Credit card cash advances dressed up as emergency help. At zero, the bank is not your partner. It is a machine that prices risk. And right now, you are the risk. The first rule of rebuilding wealth in 2026 is ugly and true. You cannot invest your way out of a leak. If your life leaks $400 a month through fees, impulse, and quiet status spending, a 10% market return is a story you tell yourself while the hole gets wider. So for 72 hours, I would become boring on purpose. Rice, eggs, walking when the bus isn't necessary, saying no without a speech, letting people assume I'm going through a phase. Let them. Phases are how people dismiss permanent change they don't want to copy. The world will tell you $1,000 is nothing in 2026. They're half right. $1,000 will not buy freedom. It will not buy status. It will not impress a single person you want to impress. But $1,000 in cash you refuse to touch is the first time your nervous system learns a new sentence. I can hold money without it leaving. If I were rebuilding from zero, the first $1,000 would not go into stocks. It's not into a hot sector. Not into a course that promises a new identity by Friday. It would sit in a high-yield savings account with a name I can feel. Break glass, do not touch. Break glass, because the first enemy of wealth is not the market. It's the emergency that always arrives wearing a different costume car battery. Tooth, phone, shift cut, roommate, leaving, dog at the vet. People at zero don't fail because they're stupid. They fail because life charges them for being unprepared, and every charge resets the clock. So month 1 is simple enough to insult your ambition. Earn whatever is honest and available: extra shifts, overtime, a second weekend job. Selling what you don't use, freelancing the skill you already have. Live like your reputation depends on not looking rich. Automate a transfer the morning you're paid, before your brain can vote. If I got paid $1,800 after tax in a rough month, I wouldn't ask what I deserve to spend. I would ask what number makes next month quieter. Maybe $200 to break glass, maybe $300, maybe only $100 if rent is a knife against your throat. The amount matters less than the order. Pay the future first, while the money still feels abstract. Spend what's left, not the other way around. By the end of 30 days, I don't need a miracle. I need a screenshot I don't post. $1,000. That's phase 1 complete. Not because you're rich. Because you're no longer one surprise away from total reset. Once the first 1,000 exists, most people relax. That's the trap. The system doesn't only punish zero, it punishes almost stable. Late fees, minimum payments that never die. High interest balances that turn a $900 problem into an 18-month relationship. Insurance lapses. Credit scores that make every future dollar more expensive. If I were rebuilding in 2026, months 2 through 6 would have one mission: make being me cheaper. I would list every debt with 3 numbers only: balance, interest rate, minimum payment. Right. No drama. No identity story about who I used to be when I swiped the card. Then I would attack the highest interest first while paying minimums on the rest. Not because a guru said so, but because math is a blunt instrument and it works. I would not open 5 new cards for points while my foundation is wet cement. If my car is ugly and paid for, it is a wealth tool. If my car is beautiful and hungry, it is a second landlord. In this phase, I would also build the only business system most people ever need at the beginning: a paycheck machine. Every payday, same hour if possible. Money splits without my mood's permission. Needs, rent, food, transport, utilities, insurance, the unsexy survival stack. Future savings and investments automated. Debt destruction, extra payments with a name and a deadline. Guilt-free small life, a controlled amount so the plan doesn't require becoming a robot who eventually snaps and binge spends. In 2026, I wouldn't obsess over perfect percentages posted by strangers with different rent in different cities. I would obsess over this: does the future get paid before my impulses do? If yes, the machine is working. If no, I don't need more motivation. I need a smaller leak or a larger income. Sometimes both. An income. I would not romanticize it, but I would not ignore it either. Cutting costs has a floor. Earning does not. If I were at zero, I would treat skill like an emergency exit. One marketable skill improved for 90 minutes a day after work sales. Trade, writing, coding, bookkeeping, editing, a license, a certification that converts into hourly rate. It's not 7 skills. 1. Because a $4 an hour raise, kept and automated, is a wealth event disguised as a boring Tuesday. By month 6, if the plan is alive, something quiet happens. The account doesn't hit zero between paydays. The overdraft fee becomes a story you tell about a former self. You stop rehearsing catastrophe every Sunday night. You're not rich. You're solvent on purpose. That is a different species from broke. There's a Tuesday in month 4 that doesn't look like progress from the outside. Grocery store. 9:10 p.m., a couple your age with a cart that looks like a commercial. The old reflex rises: I'm behind. Then you check your notes app instead of social media. Break glass. $2,400. Card balance. Down again. Automated invest. Already moved this morning. Nobody claps in the cereal aisle. That's the point. Rebuilding wealth in public is performance. Rebuilding wealth in private is infrastructure. There is a moment and almost nobody films it, when your savings balance crosses a number that changes how you walk into rooms. For a lot of people, it's $10,000. Not because $10,000 is a fortune in 2026. Because $10,000 is the first time your fear has a competitor. Before $10,000, every problem is existential. After $10,000, some problems become logistical. The car can break without breaking you. A month of friction doesn't mean homelessness math at 2 a.m. You can leave a job that is eating your health without leaping blind. Not forever, but long enough to land. If I were rebuilding from zero, I would treat $10,000 as the end of phase 3 and the beginning of adult optionality. How I'd get there is not glamorous. Keep the machine. Increase the automated transfer with every raise before lifestyle can smell the blood. Sell the story that you need to look caught up. Let friends believe you're bad with money if it keeps them from borrowing the version of you that is finally winning. Yes, sometimes silence is a financial strategy. Because the day people notice you're doing better, a second job appears, managing their feelings about it. I would rather manage my balance sheet. At this stage, investing finally earns a permanent seat. not as gambling. As automatic ownership of productive assets, broad, boring, repeatable, index funds, retirement accounts, if available, tax-advantaged space-filled before ego-driven stock picking. The unsexy architecture that compounds while you sleep and doesn't need your personality to stay famous. I would not need to beat the market in year one. I would need to not quit the market in year one. That means I accept volatility as rent. I pay for long-term ownership. If the account drops 15% and my stomach drops with it, that is tuition. Selling everything in a panic is how people donate their future to someone calmer. The peak ledger rule for this phase. $10,000 in a boring system beats $10,000 in a story you can't sleep through. And something else happens around here. Something Dark Ledger's world understands, and Lucas Grant's world sells from the other direction. You start to look ordinary. Same phone, same car, same jacket. But your insides reorganize. You stop needing purchases to prove the month counted. You start measuring months by how little they can take from you. That is the identity split. One version of you still thinks wealth is visible. The other is building a life that doesn't require an audience. Only one of those versions compounds. I remember, if this were my rebuild, the night $10,000 first appeared as a round number, not fireworks. A bus ride home. Rain on the window. The quiet knowledge that if work said don't come in this week, I would be damaged, but not deleted. That is what $10,000 buys before it buys anything you can photograph. A different quality of fear. Specific instead of total. Specific fear can be planned around. Total fear makes you spend to feel like a person again, and spending to feel like a person is how zero returns wearing new shoes. If you want the cinematic part of the story, this is where people expect a yacht. They're late. The real cinematic moment is a Tuesday morning 2 or 3 years in. When you open the app and notice the portfolio moved more this month than you contributed, you didn't get a bonus. You didn't become a genius. You just stayed long enough for math to wake up. $100,000 invested is not a personality. It is a boundary. It is the line where your money starts doing recognizable labor. Where I work for money begins sharing the room with money works for me. Where lifestyle inflation becomes the smartest enemy you'll ever meet, because it doesn't attack like a villain. It attacks like a friend who says you deserve it. If I were rebuilding from zero with a long memory, I would pre-decide my lifestyle upgrades the way a pilot pre-decides emergency procedures. Raise comes in. 50% of the raise to the future, minimum, automated the same week. The rest can improve life in ways that reduce friction, better sleep, faster commute, health not status objects that depreciate while staring at you. I would keep a car that runs. I would keep housing that doesn't require applause. I would keep friends who like me when I'm free on a Saturday, not only when I can pick up the check, because at $100,000 a new social tax appears. People begin to sense, even without numbers, that you are no longer drowning. Some will celebrate you, some will test you, some will ask for loans dressed as loyalty. The plan for that is not cruelty. It is clarity. I help when I choose, on terms I can survive. I do not set myself on fire to keep someone else warm enough to stay the same. By year 5, if the machine ran, if income rose, even modestly, if I didn't light the pile on fire for a wedding that looked like a movie, the rebuild is no longer theoretical. You can see it, not in a feed. In a spreadsheet nobody else opens. Net worth that used to be a joke becomes a slope. The slope becomes a habit. The habit becomes a person. Year 3, a coworker, call him Ryan, because every office has a Ryan. Leans on your desk and says he's leasing a German car that barely costs more than a regular payment. You've said versions of that sentence in other decades of yourself. Ryan works hard. Everyone says he's going places. Ryan's places require a payment that never sleeps. You smile. You ask about the horsepower. Kindness is free. Lectures are expensive. That night you open your accounts and do the only flex that matters. You don't touch them. Ryan's car will be worth less every month. Your boring fund won't, if you refuse to interrupt it. Not because you're better than Ryan, because you already died once at $0. People who have truly hit zero develop an allergy to beautiful monthly payments. The rebuild is not anti-joy. It is anti-amnesia. That person is dangerous in the best way. They can walk away. If I had to rebuild wealth from zero in 2026, I would not define winning as being rich. I would define winning as owning my mornings. The ability to wake up without an alarm because money arrived while I slept. The ability to take a job for meaning, not panic. The ability to sit in a parking lot at 9:23 a.m. on a random weekday and realize I don't have to enter the building if I don't want to, not because I hate work, but because work is no longer a hostage situation. That number is personal. For some, it's $40,000 a year produced by assets. For others, $60,000. For others, enough that one partner can step off the wheel. The 4% idea is a compass, not a religion. A rough way to ask how large a pile needs to be before it can feed a life. Markets vary, taxes vary, your courage varies. But the direction is stable by ownership. Reduce forced expenses, increase skills, protect the downside, stay in the game longer than your ego wants to. In the long game, I would still look strangely normal. That is not an accident. Looking rich is a bill. Being rich is a system. If the system works, I don't need the costume. If you want the whole story in one spine, here it is. The peak ledger rebuild sequence. Hour 0 to 72. Stop the bleeding. Cancel leaks. Remove overdraft weapons. Write the 3 lines. Secure the next unit of income. Day 4 to 30. First $1,000 cash. Name it. Protect it. Automate the first transfer the morning you're paid. Month 2 to 6. Destroy high-interest debt. Make your life cheaper to operate. Build the paycheck split. Raise your hourly worth with one skill. Month 6 to 18. Push to $10,000 liquid resilience. Begin boring automated investing. Let your lifestyle lag your income on purpose. Year 2 to 5. Climb toward $100,000 invested. Defend against lifestyle inflation like it's a home invasion. Stay invested through boredom and fear. Year 5 plus. Convert net worth into optionality, time, health, family, work you choose. Measure wealth by what you can refuse. That's the plan, not a secret. Sequence. Secret cell. Sequences compound. If I started at 0 in 2026, the hardest days would not be the math days. They would be the identity days. The birthday, when everyone goes somewhere you should be able to afford. It's a group chat flex you don't answer. The relative who asks why you're still playing it safe. The morning the market is red, and every cell in your body wants the old relief of spending. On those days, the plan is not a spreadsheet. The plan is a sentence. I am rebuilding a life that can't be taken from me by one bad month. You will not feel rich while you do this. You will feel late. You'll feel invisible. Good. Invisible is where the foundation dries. If I had to choose again, knowing everything the competitors in this lane already taught the algorithm about banks and silence and rat races and family money, I would still choose the boring path with the sharp edges. Cash first. Leaks closed. Skills raised. Ownership automated. Status delayed. Silence protected. Because starting from $0 is not a curse if you treat it like a clean blueprint. It's a second draft of your life with better architecture. And somewhere, not tonight, not this month, maybe not even this year, you will open the same bank app you once hated on another Thursday at 11:47 p.m. And the number will not be 0, will not need to be millions yet. It will just need to be yours. Built on purpose, kept in silence. Growing while you sleep, that's the exact plan. It's not to impress 2026, to outlast it. One more true thing. 2026 is louder, ruder prices, harder housing, 7 new identities for sale before breakfast. That noise isn't proof the plan failed. It's proof the plan must be simpler than the noise. Stop the bleeding. Hold the first 1,000. Make life cheaper to run. Automate ownership. Stay quiet long enough for math to arrive. Everything else is commentary. If you're at 0 right now, you're not behind. You're at the only place a real rebuild can start. If you're at $1,000, protect it like it knows your name. If you're at $10,000, don't upgrade your life until your options upgrade first. If you're at $100,000, remember, the danger is no longer survival. The danger is becoming loud. Peak ledger. Money changes your life. Understanding the systems around money changes it faster. Subscribe if you're building the version of yourself that doesn't need an audience to stay rich.